And we're on, and we're live. Again, in front of a captive studio audience. Greetings. Welcome. I'm Uncle Punky. Welcome to the show. With me, Roger, my co-host and cohort.
Always good to be here.
And therapeutic vest.
I'm your service animal.
Service animal. That's why he wears vests often, because I'm typically not allowed to do stuff by myself. Typically, I need adult supervision in one way, shape, or form. Put a leash on me if at all possible, because I'm a large child.
Yeah, well, you pay extra for the leash.
And when you're a large child, the best thing you could possibly think to do is a show, or a podcast, or a YouTube, or internet sensation, or however the world's working nowadays. Either way, everybody wants a piece of it, and I have lots to talk about. Stories, as they would
Stories
be.
from Uncle Punky.
And I can't tell them by myself, because, I get into that age where I tend to forget things. It happens from time to time. And you equally know, we know the same stuff.
It's all the same
stuff. It's
stuff.
just general things that we've been feeding on for the past
We
40
consider
years.
it general knowledge. Most
General
people
knowledge.
don't.
Yeah, they say, what's wrong with you people? Usually is
Yeah,
that what
there's
we
a
get.
lot.
But I'm
There's
telling
a
you,
laundry list.
who do you want on a trivia team? Yeah, these guys. These are who you want on your trivia team. I'm just saying. You got a bar trivia, you need some ringers, call us up. We know stuff about things and
But
such.
not sports.
You know what? I'm in and out. It's been a while. 80s sports? Like 80s?
Oh.
80s, early 90s?
So your answer is always
Yeah, I know,
Michael
like
Jordan.
Tigers, and yeah, Michael Jordan, because he played baseball too. He did everything at the time. Before we get into anything else, we're loving that people are taking in the show. They're sharing, they're subscribing. We've had a lot of great guests.
We have
Tim,
fans.
Julie, Gavin. We have plenty more coming. When we wrap up today, we'll tell you about next week's show, which I'm pretty excited about.
It's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be cool because we're gonna do something cool with it, and it's just it's
Something
pretty exciting.
new and exciting.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, from us, for
Yeah,
what
sure.
it's worth. Anyways, we're also trying to, we're going to start pulling audio so we can do podcasty stuff. So for those of you who don't want to sit and look at our handsome faces, and I don't know why you wouldn't. Actually, okay, I can think of several reasons why you wouldn't. However, keep sharing and subscribing. It's helping us a great deal, and it's building and becoming something, and we can do more things and bring you more information and pop culture, what's new, what's old, light a fire in your nostalgia.
And what's gonna happen?
fireplace.
What's gonna happen at 200?
We're gonna let you.
subscription?
We're gonna put this up. We're
All
gonna
right.
watch it. It's Meat Puppets. It's Roger's movie, and it's great. Piece of classic cult cinema.
13 minutes, you'll never get back.
And you won't want to. Why would you? And you'll tell your friends, and then they'll want to get involved. So share, subscribe. We'll give you stuff because we just want to incorporate everybody. It's part of your guys' show. Like I said, if you got ideas about interviews, somebody we should talk to, let us have it. Talk to us during the show. Talk to us. Send us messages. There's easy ways to find us: Facebook, the YouTubes, the Twitch, everywhere and anywhere. SoundCloud, I think, was one that we were going to start doing.
Yep.
Picked up from our buddy Kenji down in Kalamazoo. He's going to do something with us down there, which
We're everywhere.
It's coming along. So without you, we can't do it. So share the love, subscribe. Least you could do. What else you doing? Just sitting in front of a computer, anyways, on your phone, whatever. You got a minute? Go. Oh, it's one button. You're hitting emojis all
We
day
are a click
on
away.
post.
We are a
We're
single click away.
There's a Rolling
Always.
Stone song about that. Just a click away. Just a click away. All right, we are going to get into the births and people who are important to the pop culture lifestyle and everything that there is to it. There's been a few this week, but actually a few really interesting ones.
Some really good ones.
Surprisingly, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
I think that's our oldest birth announcement.
So far,
I think so.
out of all the shows,
1756.
1756. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that would probably do it. You may know him from the film Amadeus. Great film.
You might know him by the Falco hit.
By the Falco
Rock Me
hit
Amadeus.
Rock Me Amadeus. No, but he has wonderful works. I mean, if you listen to music, it's musically everything's connected in music. There's even a lot of big rock stars and punk rock people have gotten down on some classical. Classical's great.
Well, and Mozart was the rock star of his era.
He really was.
He was.
I mean,
he was the Rolling Stones
yeah,
of the
like
1700s.
I said, that Amadeus movie wasn't too far off from actual rock star lifestyle for them in Austria in the 1800s at that point when he was. I mean, he was composing
Yeah,
since
he
like
was composing
birth. I
right,
mean, like
yeah.
right out of the womb, he was composing. All right, 1832, 1632, 18. Lewis Carroll, novelist, poet, mathematician. I didn't know that part. This book, Alice in Wonderland,
Alice in Wonderland.
is obviously widely popular. Johnny Depp helped boost that again recently for a little while. But mathematician part, I had no idea.
Yeah,
That's
well,
amazing what some people are.
He's got a lot of hats.
He's got one ass.
He's a Mad Hatter.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
And we're not going to discuss this one again. All right, 1921. Welcome to Roger's last day. 1921. Donna Reed, American actress. I grew up with Donna Reed. My mom loved Donna Reed.
America's sweetheart.
Donna Reed show. She had a nice voice on her, and she could dance, sing and dance, and I mean, that's what everybody could do in the 50s. I mean, that was pretty commonplace.
Triple threat.
A triple threat, and that was 1921. 1940. James Cromwell.
Oh, so
American
cool.
actor. He's in a lot of stuff, and none of things coming to mind right now.
He was in Asylum season of American Horror Story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he plays a good creepy character, but he
plays a
also
great
plays
creepy
like
character.
that grandfatherly dad character, and that's what you see him as in all kinds of stuff, like sitcom dad. He seems like he'd be one of those, but he's played a few generals where he's that stoic. You know, he's got that
Played
face.
the president a few times.
He has been the president a few times. Yeah. So, yeah. Happy birthday to him. 1950s.
He met the Vulcans for the first time.
You met the Vulcans for the first
Oh,
time.
yeah.
First contact.
First Contact,
I
that's
didn't
right.
watch that
He was
one.
cocky.
1957. Important to me. Frank Miller.
Important to so many
American
people.
illustrator, director, producer, screenwriter, writer. The Batman. He gave us
He gave us the coolest
that
Batman.
future, dark, old, grizzled Batman, and a lot of excellent Daredevil stories.
Yep.
Real dark stuff. I mean, just amazing things. And RoboCop.
Sin City.
RoboCop 3 he wrote and
Yep.
had a lot to. He popped up in that for like a hot second.
second.
See him running around there in like the police lineup or something like that. I don't know what it was.
Sin City was so cool.
Sin City was cool.
Sin City.
Fantastic adaptation into film. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like spot on from the comics. If you got a chance to watch it, or if you haven't, do so. It's a lot of good actors in that too. I mean, even Mickey Rourke kind of lit a
Bruce Willis.
and it kind of Josh Hartnett showed up in the second one I think he was. Elijah
Yeah.
Wood and
Elijah Wood.
stuff like that. And, speaking of Elijah Wood, he's coming up here. 68 Mike Patton from the band Faith No More. Tomahawk, Phantomus,
Mr. Bungle.
Mr. Bungle.
Bungle.
Thank you. Anything else? Everybody. If anybody's looking for somebody to sing with him, Mike Patton.
Is your go-to.
He's got
Dillinger Escape Plan.
Dillinger Escape. He hung out with them. Was it Roots, Bloody Roots? The guys who. God damn it! What Sepultura? Thank you.
Yep.
He did a live one with them,
Yeah,
and he's done the Spanish opera. His vocal range is amazing. I've said this to numerous people. I've had this discussion, and a lot of people are in agreement. I mean, he's just an amazing singer. Especially, I mean, most people know him from the Faith No More stuff, and they had newer stuff that came out, which is I thought it was pretty good too. Along the same vein of Faith No More, which you can't go wrong with. 1969, Patton Oswalt, another Patton. Patent pending, as you said. Yeah, all right. I don't know why I'm letting that joke slide. American comedian and actor.
You let that one go.
I did.
Yeah.
Part of the new Mystery Science Theater 3000. That revival for that. He plays a TV son of TV's Frank.
And deeply steeped into this geek culture that we
Very.
so much love.
Still does stand-up comedy. He's still involved with all kinds of other little projects as far as pop culture and nerddom and things like that. I mean,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He's showing up everywhere
Yeah.
now. And good for him
Good,
too.
because
I know
he's so cool.
He
I love
is really cool. I know he had a bad run. Lost his wife and then
Yeah.
remarried again and stuff like that. And it's a fantastic story for him. So I'm glad he's getting busy doing stuff. On the 28th, 1959, Frank Darabont, director and producer of what was it again?
He was a showrunner for Walking Dead.
Showrunner for the first season of Walking Dead, which was spectacular. I mean,
Yeah.
absolute phenomenon. I mean, everybody's big in the zombie culture, anyways, and that was a good interpretation of the comics. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
it was a good idea, and I'm glad that they put that on the air. I haven't watched it in a while. I'm so behind. So
Yeah, I've lost out of last few seasons.
there's so many other things that have popped up since, and I'm like, really? That's the real problem with streaming and binging stuff. It's just it's stressful because then you're behind on stuff, and people are talking about it, and you're like.
I
didn't get that far.
I
yet.
gotta catch up.
Oh my God, you gotta catch up. Yeah, I know I gotta catch up. Stop reminding me. And then you get caught up, and they're on to something else. By then, you're like, I give up. I'm not gonna talk to anybody. I'm just gonna watch stuff. 61, 81. 81. Oh, he's so young. Just
I
a
know, yeah.
puppy. Elijah Wood, actor and producer. I didn't know he was a producer, but I'd assume. He did show up.
Everyone produced.
He showed up on Sin City, and his character was just awesome.
Yeah.
It was so creepy and dark compared to being a hobbit. I mean.
Well,
It's
I think he's got a dark side because
He
I
does.
think he produced and starred in the remake of Maniac where he played the killer.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think I saw some.
Yeah.
Where did I see Maniac? There's something about Maniac recently. It was probably that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I'm
he's
gonna
got a
have
dark
to dig
side.
that up. Well, why not? 1980, the 29th of 1980, the Rubik's Cube made its international debut.
it's like a birthday.
It is a
It's the
birthday.
same.
It changed the course of the 80s. It's when people put up iconic images of the 80s,
It's
the
always the
Rubik's
Rubik's
Cube
Cube,
is like
yeah.
one of the first things. It's just...
Could you do
it's
it?
a bizarre... I've gotten 3 sides done.
Okay.
Like, and it
That's
took
one
a
more
while.
side than
and
I
that
could
took
do.
a while. I mean,
That's
I've
one
seen
more
the
side than me.
If you haven't, see the videos on YouTube of the people doing it in like 2 seconds. They're like, done. How does your brain operate to the fact and function where you can move? I mean, I guess it's just mathematical.
Or savants.
Or savants. Yeah, it could be. I mean, it took me like a month just to get 3 sides. And that was without breaking it or moving the stickers.
moving the stickers.
Right.
That's the
1945, the best mustache to ever hit the world was born. He was born with the mustache. Tom
Yeah, he came out
Selleck.
with a mustache.
Magnum PI. And
Yeah.
many other things. I think he was quickly down under.
He was quickly down under. He was almost our Indiana
Which
Jones.
was- He was almost an Indiana Jones. Yeah, he was up for it. I think somebody tossed his name around for Han Solo as well because of it. You got Magnum PI. Either way, he's still cool.
We're good.
And he's still doing stuff. He does that Blue Bloods
Oh,
with
yeah,
one of the
I forgot about
Wahlbergs. One of them. The New Kids on the Block Wahlberg. Whichever one that was. 1930 on the 30th. The lights are getting me today. 1930 on the 30th. Gene Hackman.
that. Oh,
Fantastic Gene Hackman.
Lex Luthor?
Lex Luthor. I mean, that's like the biggest one that I can think of. Gene Hackman. Was it 9 to 5? He wasn't 9 to 5. That was Dabney
No,
Coleman.
that was Dabney Coleman.
I mean, I lost. He was in some other
Because
good
he was
80s
in-
stuff.
Because he was in everything.
But he really was. But he was in a lot of like
The
big
French
80s
Connection.
French Connection.
Um,
Yeah, see like older spy stuff and
Yeah.
you know like war dramas.
he was a,
and
he was a
things like that.
great New York cop.
Yeah, he played a lot. He
kind
played a
of
few
that,
cops.
That,
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, I like him. I just can't think of any of his stuff right now. I'm an awesome host. 1951, Phil Collins, drummer, singer, songwriter, producer, actor.
Yeah,
He has been an
he has
actor.
been in some movies.
Was he in Hook? He was in
No.
Hook, I believe.
No.
What was he in? He was in something.
He
that
was in Buster. He
Buster?
played the lead. Yeah, it was
No,
not
I'm
great. But
pretty sure he was in. You guys are confusing me. I'm
no,
pretty
you're-
sure he
You're
was
thinking
in,
of the guy who was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
No.
No?
No, that's Bob Hoskins. I'm pretty sure Phil Collins.
Okay.
Anyways, 1980 on the 30th, Wilmer Valderrama, Fez,
Fez.
from that '70s show, which was it hit. It was
It's-
popular.
This
This
is that
kinda
70s show right here.
Yeah, technically, this is kind of the same thing. Well, '80s and stuff, but
Sitting in
yeah,
the-
I mean,
sitting in the
just sitting in a basement, hanging out, talking, having a few drinks, whatever, and just yeah, BSing about just random weirdness. But yeah, very successful. Now he's on the NCIS.
Yep.
He did some, what is it, that Brat Battle show or something where the disc battles, something with battles, MTV. He got away from it for a while. Anyways, 1981, Justin Timberlake, singer, songwriter, dancer, and actor.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. He's growing on me.
Yeah.
He's done voice in the Trolls movie, which my daughter loves, my 5-year-old loves,
And I
to which I love.
and I love
So,
every time he shows up on Saturday Night Live.
he is hilarious.
He
I mean, he
is
is
one
really
of
just
the
like
best
a naturally
guests.
funny guy. And I don't listen to his music. There are, like I said, the Troll soundtrack. If I'm with my kid, it's on there. It's
Yeah.
immediately pulled up, and I know the music. It's just what it is. Happens with children. However, now that he's grown into like more of an actor and stuff, and he's married to the girl who won't name her kid Batmo.
Beal.
Batmobile. Jessica Biel won't name her kid. I'm hurt.
Batmo.
On the first, 1901, Clark Gable. I mean, I didn't really give a damn about this at first.
Got it.
I
Nailed
got
it.
I nailed it. But obviously known for Gone with the
Gone
Wind.
with the Wind. Yeah.
Well, many other movies throughout the 50s and 40s and whatnot. But the biggest claim to fame I think that people know him for in our groupings would be Gone with the Wind. 68, Lisa Marie Presley. Big piece of American pop culture that Nick Cage married.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson
Michael
married.
Jackson married. Elvis produced.
Elvis produced. Produced and directed. So, she was. Didn't she try to put out an album?
She has released an album
Like
at
in the
least
90s?
one, and it wasn't bad.
I had heard that something about it, but yeah, I was more big time punk rock back then.
Yeah.
I didn't give a shit about other kinds of music at that point. You know what I mean?
Well,
But,
until Lisa Marie comes out with her punk rock album.
yeah, then I'm not gonna even take notice of it. 68, buddy.
Oh,
Pauly Shore,
Shore,
who's apparently an
buddy.
asshole to a lot of people. We found out, but anyways, happy birthday to him. Comedian, actor, director, producer. I haven't seen or heard anything from him in a while.
It's been not since Pauly Shore's dead. Have I seen?
Pauly
anything
Shore is
from Pauly.
dead, which is like a weird documentary about Pauly Shore being dead, and everybody pretty much doesn't care
Yeah.
and thinks he's just an asshole, which is just still, it's brilliant and funny. Michael C. Hall, born in 1971 on the first, actor and producer from Dexter.
Dexter.
He was a lead actor in Dexter, and he also wants to throw in his hat to be the Batman. Affleck's out.
And a great singer.
Is he?
Yeah.
This I did
he
not
was
know.
in the Broadway production of Cabaret.
Oh,
And he
okay.
did the
And you really got to be able
David
to...
Bowie
Really?
tribute show. Yeah.
Interesting.
Fantastic.
Okay, see, I'm going to dig up some more on
Oh,
Michael
his
C.
Bowie is
And you know what? I don't know that much about him to be upset about him being a Batman, because I think the Batman is they're going back, right?
Yeah,
and
I
they're
think-
telling
I
like
think it
an
could
old
work.
like a year one
Yeah.
story.
Is
Rumor has it.
if the first Tim Burton Batman sauce anyone,
Right.
anyone can be Batman. You've got to be a good Bruce Wayne first.
True.
And I think he could pull off
He's
Bruce
got
Wayne.
that, like when he's Dexter, that very stoic face
Yeah.
where he was just, very unfeeling, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can
I
play a
think he
cool
could do it.
character. Okay.
They had him play Kennedy in the Netflix show The Queen.
They didn't play Kennedy. How'd he do? Was it? I mean,
Well, you just gotta add that,
He's an actor.
that thick Boston accent, right?
sure. Yeah, he's an
Give
actor.
me my khakis.
The khakis. Pack the cat.
That's wicked cool.
On the second 1947, production staff is excited about this one. You had a poster?
I didn't have the poster.
Oh,
but
you didn't have
everyone
a
knows the poster.
Farrah Fawcett.
I think the best-selling
her-
poster of all time.
Yeah, everybody wanted the Farrah Fawcett hair
Yeah.
in the 80s. That was like big. I think my mom was into the big hair stuff. 49, Brent Spiner. Data.
Data.
Best known as, but he was also in
Independence Day.
Independence Day. He was also in a variety of other things. He was in the one with Dana Carvey. Master of Disguise.
Oh,
He was the bad guy in that.
I forgot about
Which
that. Yeah.
he was just ridiculous. Every time he'd laugh, ha ha ha, this is maniacal laugh, you'd fart afterwards. It was just stupid comedy, but still cracks me up. Dana Carvey's still funny. And then another one, big on the production crew, is Christy Brinkley. A lot of 80s models coming out of the woodwork here. 1954, she was born.
to Billy Joel.
Was? Still.
Was.
No longer.
No, not for a while.
And their child looks a lot like her, though.
Good,
her
because if
daughter,
she
I
looked
think,
like
yeah, you don't want the
Billy.
saggy,
Yeah, no, not good.
saggy, droopy face of Billy Idol. Or,
Hello, you happy people.
not Billy Idol. That was dumb.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, thanks. Shouldn't have spiky hair. Or a weird lip thing. I think we're done with all the birthdays, yeah?
I think
That's
so.
it. Okay. I've hit the end of the list. But we, you know what? We're talking about one death. That has to do with today.
We used to not talk about them because they're depressing.
But it's a good segue.
Yeah, perfect.
And that would be
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff.
50 years ago today,
He died.
he passed away.
And that does have to tie into today due to the fact that we are going to talk about monsters. All the monsters. Well, not all the monsters. We're going to talk about specifically Universal monsters.
Yeah.
Because Universal monsters that's what led to the monsters we have today. That led
Oh,
to
yeah.
our Freddy's and Jasons and our unstoppable, unnatural, supernatural forces and creatures of the night, formerly dead, resurrected, and just and most of them started as books.
And thank God to the foresight of Carl Laemmle Jr., who was the head of Universal in the 20s, to think, you know what? Westerns and melodramas are great, but I think people want horror.
Yeah, but
And
people were enthralled by the tales, anyways.
Yeah.
Reading the books of Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker. I can't think of the other names.
countless others.
There are countless others. I mean, they just started as these narratives that people were telling about these creatures, and they just got so enthralled. And then, of course, the way the world progresses, now we get feature films.
Film was the natural.
Film was the natural, and a lot of them started back as far as 28, 38, 19,
23.
23
is where we're starting today.
is where we're
Yeah.
starting today. Okay. First one we're going to start with is one of Lon Chaney's characters, and you're going to see his name come up a lot today. As Boris Karloff as well, Lon Chaney Jr. There wasn't.
Lugosi,
Yeah, there was a handful of actors in the 40s and 30s that you could use to play these that were just great character actors.
Yeah, and that was their bread and butter.
Amazing character. Like today, we got like Andy Serkis. You know what I mean? He gets his digital make. He's just a good character actor, like Planet of the Apes that he did, and Gollum, and all these characters that he can do before anybody ever really knew what the hell he looked like. Now they put it on camera, and they're like, he's not handsome. Let's go back to CGI. But they didn't have that. That wasn't it back then. It was a few prosthetics, or they contorted these faces. You know what I mean?
Uncomfortable makeups. Yeah.
Heavy, uncomfortable makeups. I mean, that was a different time, and we're
Wax-
going to talk about
Wax and collodion and
right, and we're going to talk
cotton,
about
yeah.
one of the more famous makeup artists, makeup artists of the time.
I personally think responsible for all of
Maybe
this.
we'll do that segment too.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
I think we'll chop it up that way today. Okay, And it's really exciting because, like I said, growing up with it, I mean, Frankenstein, I mean, that's amazing for the time. The makeup, that's amazing for the time. The creature from the Black Lagoon, that is amazing for the time. I mean, that scared the pants out of people.
Well, especially thinking Frankenstein was 31.
Mm-hmm. It was written.
The movie.
Right, but even when it wasn't written that
Yeah,
far
but
before
1931, that image is held all these years.
Yeah.
That is Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Frankenstein's monster.
Any other version of the movie, it copies that.
Yeah.
Or that's your basis and your formula for the Frankenstein's
Yeah,
monster.
Frankenstein's monster. That's longevity.
But we're going to start with Lon Chaney as the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
The first Universal horror
Notre
film.
Dame.
Notre Dame.
I'm not French. I don't know how to pronounce it. It was based on a story about this a hunchback, terribly ugly. He's forced to live in this, what is it, a monastery or a
The
convent?
bell tower
The bell
of
tower.
the Notre Dame chapel.
Because he's so hideous.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much hidden away to ring bells. And Lon Chaney just, of course, like I said, he portrayed it amazing. Actor.
Lon
I mean,
Chaney, a phenomenal actor. And I think part of the big thing with his ability to master the silent films,
Mm-hmm.
his parents were both deaf mutes. He had to completely communicate growing up physically.
wow. Yeah, well, that would help.
Yeah.
A way to
and-
interpret something
Yeah.
without using
Yeah.
your
and
voice
did
at
all of his own makeups and prosthetics.
Oh, wow. That's an impressive
Yeah.
feat to learn. Things were different back then.
Very different.
I mean, different styles of makeup, and the chemicals and compounds were either heavier or more dangerous.
Yeah.
at that
far more
point.
dangerous, yeah.
Right.
And then you apply it to yourself.
Right.
That's a skill.
Right.
That's
right.
talent.
Without hope of anything else ever happening to you. Another Lon Chaney performance. These are all chronological, by the way. So we're going to stick with like more of a chronological order of how these have come
We're
out.
going 1925 now.
1925 now. Okay. Lon Chaney performed as the Phantom of the Opera.
Still, nothing will top that film. It's a silent black and white film, but I don't think any interpretation of Phantom of the Opera has been as good as that one.
And it's interesting that you say it's a silent interpretation of Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Entailing that it would have to do
It would have music
with opera, or
involved,
at least
yeah.
some kind of music. And I know there was a track that played during, a musical.
There were live tracks.
A musical score.
Then they re-released the film in the early 30s after Frankenstein and Dracula took off, where they did an audio track to it.
When they were out meeting Abbott and Costello's and stuff.
Yeah, before that.
When they really broke big.
But they did re-release it with an audio track. So,
Oh, nice.
instead of live music in the theater.
And that's taken off. That's a cultural hit now. I mean, that
Andrew
travels
Lloyd
around.
Webber.
Andrew Lloyd Webber. I mean, just the score of it. I mean, that's still, as far as musical theater, that's still going on.
Oh yeah.
And it has been going on since
Since
1930.
yeah, I think Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom came out in '74.
Okay. Yeah,
been
and
around
that's
for a while.
always stuck with a lot with the original too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't mess with it too much. I remember there's one with Gerard Butler
Yep.
played Phantom of the Opera. Wasn't Robert Englund in one?
Robert Englund
Robert
did
Englund
one.
was in one.
Yeah.
Which ties into a lot of the pop culture stuff, and
And
then to today's present horror monsters, of
and
course.
it's actually going to come up in our Universal cycle again.
Yeah, that's right.
It will come back.
That's right. It will. It'll make a comeback. The next one I'm really excited to talk about because it inspired one of my favorite characters, which we discussed last week, the Joker. This one is called, which it's hard to find.
It's really hard to find, but it's so worth it.
It's called The Man Who Laughs. Conrad Veidt.
Conrad Veidt.
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 Oh, man, it's tough. Man. I'm gonna get it. That's the face of the Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what DC Comics Joker is based off of that character. I mean, as you could see with the features and stuff, but feel free to look it up, Man Who Laughs. But it's
Everything about the Joker's pulled right from that.
yeah, and it's an
I
interesting
know,
tale
I know we're
too.
getting ahead of ourselves. But
Right.
this is in the second set. Jack Pierce, the head of makeup for Universal, that's completely him.
Yeah, and it's
That's
and I was showing it to my wife last night. We were looking at some pictures of it and stuff, and I mean, it's a weird face.
It
you know
is.
what I mean? The way
It
it's
is
pulled, and
unsettling.
you can even see some of the original artwork for the Joker. How I was drawn from that. Anything you try to look up on Google, it's going to show a lot of the DC Comics Batman Man Who Laughs stuff and incorporate the Joker into that. But I mean, you've seen this before,
yeah. Oh,
and it's
I
a
own
good
it.
story.
It's actually very emotionally compelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great story.
It's about a man who's scarred.
Gwendolyn, who
Gwendolyn, right?
Gwendelfin.
Gwendelfin. It's got a lot of consonants in
Yeah.
it and a couple W's. It's very confusing. But yeah, he wears like almost like the shadow. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
wears
keeps a
the
little
mask.
scarf or mask around him, and meets a woman.
He's got a perpetual grin.
It's your basic tale of it's pretty deep. If you actually get a chance to find it or watch it, yeah, The Man Who Laughs, just dynamite. And like I said, as a comic book guy who's in love with the Joker, it really just you can see how it's encapsulated, and it's well worth researching if you're a big nerd.
And Conrad, the actor, it was such a deep pedigree in film because he was in the German expressionist film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. He was Caesar.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone knows him. He was the Nazi commandant in Casablanca.
Yes, that's right. That's where I mainly know him
Yeah.
from. But that was also through a Riff Tracks version of Casablanca. It all has to do with comedy. Comedy comes in threes. Next on our list, I'm getting the fog out, people. It's still coming. Be patient. Bela Lugosi of the
Dracula.
Bela Lugosi's Dead fame.
Yep.
Still love that song. It's a great song. As Dracula.
Yeah.
This is the first Universal Monsters
The first talkie.
talkie
Universal
of Dracula. Obviously, the original one was Nosferatu, which is the German creepy.
F.W. Murnau's.
Oh man, that's
interpretation,
so.
yeah.
And if you've seen
And that's
What We Do in the
still-
Shadows,
still classic.
that's what Peter
Yeah.
is based on. Who lives in the basement? That Dracula obviously spawned into lots of Dracula fever.
Yeah.
I mean, horror movie mania.
It was a huge stage production, which Bela Lugosi was actually the star of the stage show.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's how he got the role. Because
Wow.
it was supposed to go to Lon Chaney.
Mm-hmm.
But he had done his first talkie, developed throat cancer, and
Oh.
died.
Oh. Well, I guess that'll give
Yeah.
you the job. Yeah.
So silent films ended with him, for the most part.
Ironically.
Yeah.
Even.
But Lugosi stepped up from the stage production and just blew it
Excellent.
out of the
And
water.
was that like nationally touring? Was that just?
It was
that-
nationally
just
touring.
World touring? I mean,
yep.
obviously we say theater. I mean, and obviously, in the productions in the '50s and stuff, there was a lot of stage stuff.
There was a lot.
I mean, it was very heavy and Universal throughout the '40s and then even through today. It's
Yep.
it's a lot of stage stuff. I mean, nowadays a lot of green screen stages and sound stages mainly,
right.
where they just
But
put
no,
shit
this,
in later.
this
but-
was a touring stage production.
Mm-hmm.
Lugosi was the star of the New York production for several years.
okay.
And then went with the touring production around the country where they would do a stint like a week in each city. And
And he gave us the voice of Dracula.
Yeah. He gave us
hello, the blood.
that Hungarian
that
accent.
very Hungarian, but it was
And
that
it
very
stuck.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Where it's,
Yeah.
and it just became that's how Dracula talks. It probably wasn't. You know what I mean? It's just it was for movies, and they probably wanted to be a little bit overly dramatic and very.
and he had a thick Hungarian accent,
He-
being
being from
Hungary.
that area,
Yeah.
yeah. And I know a guy who's Romanian, and he's got pretty good acting. You know what I mean? So when I watch movies that have to do with parts of the world where I know people who are from, you know what I mean?
You
I
pick
try
up
to
on
listen.
it.
I'm like,
not quite.
that's not how they talk. I know a guy from there. That's not it. You guys are liars. Damn you, Hollywood. No, big one, huge one. Next on our list, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's monster.
Oh,
The
Frankenstein was
iconic
huge.
imagery. My friends at Lightning Revival Tattoo, they have Frankenstein and the Bride, like almost like the reverse of each other, and it's beautiful artwork and stuff.
It is.
And it's cool, and it's iconic, and it draws people like the electricity and the monster, and it's an iconic image of monsters.
Yeah.
That, Dracula's face, Wolfman, your mummy. Did you watch the new Mummy? Have you watched
I haven't
that?
seen the new one with Tom
I
Cruise.
wasn't- I
I'm
don't-
kind of waiting.
I'm kind of
for
wanking
that.
on it too. But as far as Frankenstein goes, you draw a lot of Frankenstein.
I do a lot. I mean, how can you not?
Yeah,
It's like-
exactly.
it's a
So
thing,
I already
yeah.
know what your favorites are on this list.
Yeah.
Um,
And Frankenstein, other than the film from 31, celebrates another anniversary this year. It is the 200th anniversary of Mary Shelley's writing the novel.
oh wow.
She was 17 years old and wrote Frankenstein.
Which means we'll probably get another reboot or another remake or some other tailing
We
of
do every 5
Frankenstein.
years anyways.
And it gets beat to death, unfortunately, as does Dracula Tale. I mean,
but
a lot of people
But it's
have done.
Frankenstein, so you can beat him to death, rebuild him, and he'll come back.
Right. Young Frankenstein, probably my favorite
Oh,
interpretation.
Great. Love Frankenstein.
Put it on the wrist. It's just everything about that movie is hilarious. Frau Blucher. And we've heard that pop up in a few other things, like Frau Blucher. Bunch of horses come up. Cracks my wife up every time. There was one with what, De Niro? De Niro played a Frankenstein.
and Mary
There
Shelley's
was one where
Frankenstein,
they had that one, was it I, Frankenstein?
I,
where he's
Frankenstein,
fighting gargoyles that had Thomas Jane, who was
Thomas Jane,
one of
yep.
the Punishers. So it's all connected.
Now in that with the monsters, and it's a character actor named Dwight Fry who was in both Dracula and Frankenstein,
Okay.
playing, the creepy character. He played Fritz and
Okay.
Igor and
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dwight Fry, which he's posted there. The Hunchback, almost as scary as all the monsters.
Oh.
He played Renfield in Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is...
He's a creepy
Those are
character
just
actor.
regular people who have very dark presences around them, and they're just they want to be involved in that life, and that's
Yeah.
just that makes them a little bit darker. I mean, if you look at it that way,
In that way,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? They
Because
just
there's
have
a humanity there that's gone wrong.
right, exactly. That moral compass is just it's spinning. It's polar opposite of what it
those
should be.
secondary characters sometimes almost as scary as the monster.
Right. And there's been a lot in some movies, even more recently, that I've seen where that secondary character, I'm like, oh, they're just chilling.
Yeah, and I'd be amiss if I didn't mention Dwight Fry. So
Right.
had to bring him up.
No, absolutely. Well, Igor is an important part of. I mean, there's Doctor Victor von Frankenstein, Frankenstein,
Frankenstein.
and then there's Igor.
Yeah,
Igor, whatever.
and actually in Frankenstein he was Fritz. It wasn't
Okay.
Igor until Son of Frankenstein when Bela Lugosi played Igor.
So he started going by his middle name,
Yeah,
Fritz.
yeah, it's a
Igor,
surname.
whatever it is. That adorable movie about Igor. Off topic a little.
Oh, the kids movie. The
one
family
with
movie.
John Cusack.
Oh, I loved it.
And like Steve Buscemi as this angry rabbit or something
It's
like
so-
that.
that's
A brain
fun,
in a jar. and-
That's a fun movie.
It is
that's
fun.
so fun.
And it's about a variety of Victor Frankensteins. Just all these weird mad scientists trying to do
Having
the
a
next big thing.
competition,
And
yeah.
it's an Igor that builds a lady Frankenstein
Yep.
thing. And
Yep.
she's sweet. And it's well worth checking out. I mean, if you're into
It's fun.
monsters at all, it is
Yep.
fun. And you can introduce your kids to monsters.
Yeah.
Harmlessly. Kind of.
Yeah.
All right. Another Boris Karloff. We just spoke briefly about. They had a new version came out with Tom Cruise and somebody
Yeah.
actiony packed. It might as well have been Mission Impossible 3 with a mummy. I don't know. Haven't watched it.
Yeah.
The Mummy with Boris Karloff. We had the Brendan Fraser ones.
Yeah.
And Jet Li popped up in one of them, which I appreciate because I love Jet Li.
Don't get me wrong.
However,
They were fun,
They were fun.
but they were Indiana Jones meets the
And
Mummy.
it was Brendan in his heyday before alimony payments and living a rough road. Boris Karloff, I mean, again, the makeup of that time. What was this? 40s,
No.
30s? We're still in the 30s.
The Mummy was in the 30s.
35?
Still. Yep.
38? Some 30s. We're still in the
Early
30s.
Early 30s. 33.
Oh, we'd
I
be
think.
remiss if we didn't put that up. Yeah.
yeah.
You've done pictures of
Yeah,
Karloff.
I love Karloff, and
Um,
the look of the Mummy in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
The bandaged Mummy showed up in the first 2 minutes of the movie and was never seen again.
right.
This
It
is
was the unbandaged mummy.
yeah. This is the look of Karis the Mummy throughout the rest
Yeah,
of the film.
and the makeup back then was just so. I mean, it just looks like clay or mud
It's
that's
so
dried
good.
on him. I mean, it's just this old, ancient character, and he
Yeah.
just played it so great. I mean, just the patience of his walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what stands out to me when he like.
Oh, and
Comes
Karloff
out of
had
the
that
sarcophagus and-
very soft but deep voice.
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
worked so well.
And I can appreciate anybody with a deep voice. we're brethren at that point. Another take on the Frankenstein. They had to give him someone to love. So let's make him one.
Which actually comes directly from the book.
Is
There was a
directly
bride
from the
in
book?
the book,
Yep, and that was played by Elsa
Lanchester.
Lancaster. I want to say Lanchester.
That's how it's spelled.
It's how it's spelled. But
It's how it's spelled, Lancaster. It's
Lancaster.
different time. The 40s, they just spelled things however they wanted
What
to.
part of Europe is she from?
I don't know, London,
The
maybe.
middle part?
Yeah, the middle. Somewhere by water, I guess. Not in America. But she was the bride of Frankenstein. Stop arguing with me. She played the bride of Frankenstein, that big giant
That-
cake hair,
yes.
the bolts. I mean, it was the same. There was just somebody for Frankenstein to
And-
keep
and-
Frankenstein reined
and
in.
a lot of
that-
people say that because Frankenstein and Bride were both directed by James Whale.
Okay.
Including in between there was The Invisible Man, which was also James Whale.
With Claude Rains, is
With
that?
Claude Rains.
We'll get to that one. Right.
Who Claude Rains was also in Casablanca.
Oh yeah, like I said, there was so
it all
many
comes
actors,
together.
you know what I mean, that you
Right.
could use at that point in time too.
But
Um,
everyone says that Bride of Frankenstein's the superior film, and it's technically better. But I love the first one better.
there's a lot of people that that were like, oh, you know, Frankenstein's monster and this and that. It's like he really wasn't the monster in those books.
No, you had
And neither was
empathy
she.
and
It was
sympathy
it was
for him.
that, you know, judging a book by its cover kind of a tale. And I mean, that's partly mainly why it was written. You know, people
Right.
felt different and wanted to express it in some way. You create a creature that is just misunderstood and just destructive, but not intentionally. And you know, the stories go a lot deeper.
Yeah.
You know, which they, I mean,
Dr. Frankenstein is the flawed character.
right. But a lot of people, they just want to see the monster, you know,
Destroying,
rampage
crashing,
nowadays. Yeah, a lot of crash and smash and throwing people around and fighting against his maker, and it's like, it's just tell the tale as it's supposed to be told. We will move on to a Warren Zevon song,
Yeah.
which we discussed recently.
Recently, yeah.
It was last week. I think his birthday came up, something like that. Werewolf of London. Henry Hull played this
Henry Hull,
Werewolf
yep.
of London.
The first Universal
The
werewolf
first
movie.
Universal werewolf. Before we get to the Wolf Man,
Right.
which was
Lon Chaney.
Lon
Jr.
Chaney Jr.,
Yep.
son of Lon Chaney.
Yep.
So, like I said, you got to keep it in the family from this and that. Typical werewolf tale.
I love the look of this
Mm-hmm.
werewolf. Halfway between wolf and human, a little more human
Human-ish.
looking, but it's
With
such
some
a
feral features.
yeah.
Yeah, so
And that was a tug back and forth between the makeup artist and the actor. The actor wanted to be seen.
right.
He wanted to be recognized.
Yeah, you don't want to be covered under hair so nobody knows
Right.
who he is. Did that one have much of a change, like the change? Werewolf
It had a
change?
really nice change. Unlike the later werewolf films where we see the time lapse.
Okay.
As Henry Hull's character walked past down a hallway, every time he passed a column, he would come out the other side a little more changed, and they
Oh.
would hide those cuts in between the columns.
Ah, that's subtle.
And that was fun.
That's a good
That
way
was
to do
nice.
it.
Yeah.
They did one, I guess, a spin-off of Dracula. And
yeah.
that would be Dracula's daughter, Gloria Holden. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Gloria Haddon. Can't read today either.
Dracula's Daughter is actually an adaptation of Bram Stoker's sequel to Dracula called Dracula's Guest.
Oh, so they did
So
sequels
it is
back then too.
really a sequel from the original from the book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know much about that one, so
Oh.
that's kind of cool.
So it had a lot of lesbian overtones in the film,
Really?
but such strikingly good visuals and minimal makeup. But
Sure.
wow, if it wasn't striking.
Yeah, just
Absolutely.
well done.
Yeah,
A well-rounded movie.
absolutely.
Excellent.
And another one of those films, no one really knows about it.
Right. Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know Dracula had a daughter. I didn't know how that's possible. Well, I mean, never mind. The next one I've seen through Mystery Science Theater
It's a serial.
and Riff Tracks. It is a serial. They popped up a few of those serials at the beginning of some of their terrible movies.
Yeah,
This was one of them.
yeah. And
Mad Scientist again.
And not often did Universal go into the serials.
No, I think this is one of their only
This
forays before one of their Universal pictures. But
Yeah.
it was a Phantom Creeps. Mad Scientist again.
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi plays this mad scientist. Terribly prosthetic beard.
Oh, bad beard. But
I mean, it looks like this thing was just quick. We need you guys to get out there, but that is the robot monster
and that is the most iconic thing to come out of that
Aztec.
series.
That is the only thing to come out of that series,
Oh.
besides his bad facial hair that sticks with
But
me.
that robot is such a cool design.
It is, and if you get a chance to watch them pick it apart in Mystery Science Theater, the comedy of it is just, obviously they like to point out, movie flaws and stuff to things with it as it goes. But, we were just talking about the Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr.'s version, which is the most iconic one that
yep.
stands out as Universal Monsters, and
And there was a fear at Universal because that came out in 1941, right after the war broke out.
Oh, okay.
It released in December, and there was fears like, this is going to do terrible. We just went to war.
nobody's gonna go see
It was a huge success because everyone needed that escape.
They needed to get away.
They
They wanted to
needed
be
that
scared of
yep.
something other than bombs dropping.
Exactly.
That makes sense to me. And that's, like I said, that face, that actor, he's like, yeah, werewolf me up. I mean, that's what a werewolf looked like.
And Lon Chaney
years.
Jr., following in his dad's footsteps,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even changed his name because he's actually born Crichton Chaney.
Oh.
But
he
changed
wanted to
his name
keep
to
up
be
his
Lon
dad.
Chaney Jr. to
That's
keep that
brilliant.
tradition
That's good.
going.
And he did a pretty good job with it, too.
He did.
He played the characters well after his father's
Yep.
passing.
He also went in. He was Frankenstein's monster for a while.
Learned a few
and-
things from watching and being
Yeah.
around that. I mean, how can you not pick that up? Claude Rains' version pops up now on our little list here of Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera, yeah.
It's
Again,
it's
into the 40s.
into the 40s, colorized,
Oh,
Technicolor.
Oh, and it's a
technical color.
it's gorgeously shot. It's a beautiful, lavish film.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't think it has the impact of the original,
Yeah.
but it is a beautiful film.
And this, we didn't get. When did we get Andrew Lloyd Webber's music? When did we start getting that?
That was I think 74.
70s. Okay.
Yeah.
But that was still a lot of just natural opera music and
Yeah.
and the like. Lon Chaney Jr. again. We're coming back to son of Dracula. He had a daughter, and he had a son.
And he had a son. Yep.
This one is
Anything to perpetuate the franchise.
okay. Keep
That's-
Dracula alive,
yep.
keep it in people's minds.
And that's where we get the Aculard, which is Dracula backwards.
Dr. Alucard
Yep.
from Monster Squad.
Yep. And that's
If
where all
anybody
this
hasn't
stuff-
watched Monster Squad, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. If you haven't watched Monster Squad, do so. It's a movie from the 80s. It's all the Universal monsters
it's a must. It's part of the
that
universe.
get together to try to stop a monster. I don't want to give it away.
No.
It's well worth watching. I mean, it's just got everything 80s teenagers fighting monsters that you could want.
Well, and it grew out of. We'll get to it later on the list, but
Mm-hmm.
Universal did the Monster Mashes where they put all their characters
together, and they do stuff with they send them over to, like we said, Abbott and Costello.
Right.
Start passing them up that way too.
And what
which is
actually
always
started,
funny.
and it goes back a little earlier in our chronology, but there was the Wolfman versus Frankenstein versus the
Oh,
Wolfman.
yeah.
And that
where they-
started our mashups.
Yep.
That's where we get
I do
crossovers
like
from.
that one because that's what you want to see him fight.
is.
You know, what is the next logical step?
And
You
we
see
get,
him just
we
travel
get,
around the world.
We
and-
get Lugosi as Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
and Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman.
Nice. That's a good one. So yeah, Lon Chaney, son of Dracula.
He pops up quite a bit.
Are we at the? Am I at the end of my list? Where am I?
Oh, let's see.
No. Oh no.
Oh.
This one also falls in the Mystery Science Theater. I've watched it originally, Mystery Science Theater, but this guy's face, it looks like an Easter Island sculpture. His name is Rondo Hatton. It was the Brute Man.
Yeah.
And it does fall under the Universal Monsters category.
It does.
And that's not makeup.
No, he had a
That's
glandular disorder.
Glandular disorder. That's his face. And we discussed before the show, it's kind of like Tor Johnson. You know what I mean? He was just this big, kind of ugly, menacing, weird character, but he was just so sweet and so gentle and a really good actor for the time.
For the
you know
time,
what
yeah.
I mean? I mean, granted, Tor was in a few Corman movies and stuff like that, and we can't really fault people for that. But
Tor Johnson, I think, is immortalized from the Mask.
yeah.
Yeah, the Mask kept him going.
Yep.
And that image going for years.
Yeah, really, Beast of Yucca Flats and this and that and all those other ones that came out.
But Rondo Hatton.
Rondo was...
That, and we talked a little earlier off camera too. Is that there's the Rondo Awards.
Yep.
Which are the horror movie.
Yep, because
or
he was
horror
involved with a
awards.
lot more than just the Brute Man.
Yeah.
I mean, they wound up
So
using him up until...
His image is the Oscar for horror.
Which, how could it not be with that
Yeah,
face? I
and
mean,
that
that just seems... That seems logical.
Yeah, and then that image showed up. That face came with prosthetics this time, but as the Heavy in the Rocketeer.
Oh, that's right. And when you look at his face, it kind of reminds me of a Dick Tracy villain.
Yeah.
It looks,
totally.
It looks just... And I want to say that he was in that Dick Tracy, but I don't think he was alive by then.
No.
Probably not.
no.
But
He-
I think
he died
they...
shortly
I think
after the
they
Brute Man
based...
in the late 40s.
I think they based one of the thugs and stuff on that Dick Tracy movie with
how-
Pacino and
with that face, how
Warren
could you
Beatty.
not?
I
how
still
could you not?
dig that movie. I like that movie, even though it's got Madonna in it. I'm willing to overlook this.
Now
It
we're
came
into the 50s.
from outer space. Amazing thrills in 3 dimensions. Fantastic sights leap at you, Roger. This is the future of horror.
You know, this is where Universal starts to get into the trend. They get into
They
the giant
really-
bugs
they're
and
like,
aliens and
Aliens
monsters from
is the
science
next
and
thing.
space,
This is where it's going. It came from outer space. There's no specific name. Just it.
It's just
whatever it is. We don't have a label for it. We've never seen it before. It's from outer space.
That's why we call it it.
That's why we call it it. It was a weird creature.
Yeah.
When
Oh,
you
yeah.
see it, as most of them through the 50s, and like I said, my undying love for Mystery Science Theater has maybe biased my opinion towards B-movie monsters and like ridiculous kaiju monsters, just ridiculous monsters, and they really creatively took leaps back in the day to make these monsters. I mean, creative for what their minds could comprehend at the time, I guess. You know what I mean? Before imaginations really started to go like Stan Winston and
Yeah.
other aspects of monster making and such, but it's just they're weird.
They're weird, but they worked.
They did work, and they kept people coming back, and they can do the double features.
Those images hold up still to this day. So
Yeah, and a lot of and that's
it
what I
made an
said.
impression on
It
the
sticks-
psyche. I guess.
It does make an impression on the second when you see those. You're like, oh Jesus, that monster. I know what that's from. We'll go to the creature from the Black Lagoon. It's made your shirt.
My favorite.
It is your favorite. Rico Browning made an appearance at our Comic-Con.
Yep.
Who you've met. And super nice guy.
Hourly at that show.
Hourly at that, but they mentioned Millicent Patrick on here.
Yeah, Millicent Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
She was an illustrator and animator for Disney, hired over by Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Westmore kind of stole the thunder and the glory about creating the creature for years, at least a good 30 years. Millicent Patrick designed the creature completely.
Oh.
It is her creation.
Oh. Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I don't know if you guys can get a shot of this real quick. I'll hold it. Here we go. This is the makeup, the gills, and that's ahead of its time.
She designed that from head to toe.
This is ahead of its time for what it is. I mean, that's cool makeup effects, and the fact that it was underwater.
Yeah, with no tank, and Rico had to perform all those underwater scenes holding his breath.
Yeah, and that'd be
no
so
goggles.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so terribly terrifying and nerve-wracking. All right, I tell you what, we'll take a break. We'll do our intermission. Let's do our intermission. I need a breather. All this talk about monsters and stuff. I'm excited. We have some more monsters to go.
We've got some more monsters going.
And then we're going to talk about makeup. Monsters and makeup. Because
the men behind the monsters.
let's be honest, they go hand in hand together. So, intermission. We'll come back. Punky and Roger. Story time.
See you guys
and
then.
go. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm actually really excited to see that one. They do this all the time on actual television. No big deal. We're on now. Hey.
Welcome back.
Welcome back briefly. I'm still going to take a cigarette break. But, we had technical difficulties. That was a problem. We're back. We're golden. We're live. But we're still going to do intermission because I feel that there's music you guys need to hear.
I think so too.
And what better way to do that than intermission? So let's do that. Intermission time.
At Shape Orchards, our hard cider is so good, it pours itself. Don't believe me? Oh, I got you. Puck cider.
In the forest made by God and those made by man.
I landed on a planet not unlike my own. Network caged like bees, fucking free to roam. Soldier apes on horseback, soldier apes on foot, loaded apes with orange hair, give you dirty looks. Well, you must fight to live. You must fight to live. You must fight to live. On the planet of the apes. Got confined in one ape. They much to my chagrin began to speak to me, so I began to listen. Well, you must fight to live. You must fight to live. You must fight to live. On the planet of the apes. Realized this was terrible. This was to be man's fate. Monkeys treated me like shit. You filthy ape! You stinky ape!
music from the Casket Bastards out of Detroit,
Out of Detroit.
which you know.
I do. Davey Taylor, also the leader of the Amino Acids.
Another punk,
On punk surf
rockabilly,
band,
space.
yeah.
I like it.
Good stuff.
So if you are unfamiliar with them, make sure and check them out. Casket Bastards
Casket
out of
Bastards.
Detroit. Which ties in great to our theme because they do a lot of stuff that's monster
Monster-based.
based,
horror,
horror based, sci-fi horror, older style. Like we'll talk more about music. We'll get to our music part. As we do our rap segment, as always, our rap segment. No pun intended, and I'm not going to talk about rap. I guarantee you that right now. So when we start to wrap up about music and stuff, we'll do that. You're wondering why I look bundled? I went outside for a second. It's
cool.
And it's Michigan, and it sucks.
Polar vortex.
Actually, it's warmer than it has been. It's not in a negative number or a single-digit number.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. However, it's going to melt, freeze, melt,
Icy again.
freeze, melt, and then it's going to be like 50 Monday. I'm confused by this weather, and it's playing hell in my car. I can't really go many places. Michigan.
Once you try and understand Michigan weather, you're lost. Just don't try.
You
can't figure it out.
I've lost the will to try. I've completely just given up 100%. Okay, so that's why I'm bundled. We're continuing on in our monster talk. We'll pick up where we left off.
In the 50s.
In the 50s was a big time for sci-fi.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Huge sci-fi period.
I mean, that kind of took over for more of the monster stuff. I mean, there's still a lot of it. There were a dime a dozen. I mean, Roger Corman put out one like every 3-4 days.
The Poe series. Yeah. The Poe cycle.
As I said before, my affinity for Mystery Science Theater and whatnot have led me to all kinds of terrible movies and B movies. I mean, they've run the gamut of things from Japan to stuff from Spain. I mean, just
and yet they still will never run out.
and you will never run out. I mean, there's such a
bad movies all the
huge
time.
collection of just bad movies out there that you can find. A lot of them are making their way to Blu-ray or finally DVD or whatever after like 60 years of just being in a vault somewhere. This one was actually the Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie.
Yeah.
When they did
Feature film.
they did a feature film of a feature film, which they typically do, was This Island Earth. The Metalloda mutant is the monster that it gave us, and it's just the jokes in the movie just kill me. The way they pick it apart and the monster itself. He wears slacks.
He's got slacks on.
He's
Yeah.
wearing just everyday pair of khakis.
His body becomes pants and then become feet.
Uncle Scrotor over here. I call him Uncle Scrotor affectionately. He eats pennies, and he's well fed. But he's just got a giant testicle head. That's pretty much what it is. Bunch of veins and some ski goggles and pincers for hands.
But he is the prototypical
possibly a
50s
cloaca.
alien, though.
He really is. I mean, the big head and the weird. It's just that's what they thought. But he wore slack. He's pretty useless in the movie. He was only in there for like 5 minutes. I mean, they're at some lecture hall. They're in an office. They're on
In
a
the
plane.
UFO.
They're in the UFO. They're on the planet for like 10 minutes.
But
They're
the
out.
handful of
Yeah,
minutes
and then
that
they're
he
back.
has screen time steals the show.
Steals
That's what
the
everyone
show.
remembers.
They really do, but they go down easy.
Yeah.
They got soft
They're
spots.
top heavy.
They are very top heavy, and you will fall down. The next one on our list, also thanks to Mr. Science Theater, I got to rewatch again last night, The Mole People, featuring one John Agar, Cynthia Patrick, and of course, Hugh Beaumont, the Beaver's dad. He's made his appearance in a few
Bad movies.
bad movies, which is it's surprising. You're like, it's Beaver's dad. There's no way he's doing bad movies.
but
He was
in
doing
those
bad
days you
movies.
go from bad movie to TV. That was the transition.
Oh, okay. A lot like it is now.
Yeah.
Except now it's just direct to DVD is your next step.
Exactly.
And then you're kicked onto some weird TV show or some reality something where they stick former celebrities in a household and make them do ridiculous shit.
But the Mole People, another cool monster.
Yeah, the mole people, they look like moles.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, they had like...
They had clothes because they didn't want to spend
Right,
the money.
they had like
on-
a black hoodie and some sweatpants
Yeah,
on,
they
but
didn't want to spend the
the
money
rest
on
of it
full
was
makeup.
mole. Right. But then it had these weird albino people who
Yeah.
lived in the earth that fell from the upper crust into the earth, and then they just enslaved mole
And then there were
people.
mushrooms.
And there's mushrooms, which mushrooms I'm sure play a significant part of the whole ordeal. Another one on the list, which actually played in sequence of Mystery Science Theater. This was next.
Oh,
as well.
fantastic.
Another one, John Agar.
He was in everything.
He was in everything.
He
in
was
the
in
50s.
everything in the 50s. Not just Universal. But
No,
everything.
and this one's the Deadly Mantis, which is one of your favorite giant
My favorite big bug movie.
big bug movie.
Yep.
You ever watch Teenagers from Space?
Yep.
With the
The
I don't remember what they call them, but it's just like a shadow of a lobster. This is all it is. It's a shadow of a lobster doing this, and it makes this noise. You're like, no, stop it.
in the 50s, we had the giant crab monster.
Yeah.
We had tarantula. We had
The claw,
them.
the giant claw, which
Giant
was just
claw.
like a weird bird.
Yeah, all
puppet.
the big atomic enhanced things.
And a lot of these you can still find on like Amazon and Netflix,
Oh, yeah,
or
they're everywhere.
there's actually a site for Mystery Science Theater. It's like clubmst3k.com, which has even all the new series too. which
and
is
all
cool.
the time, especially like at a Walmart, you find
Mm-hmm.
that like 50 bad B movies, and they're all
Yep.
like giant bug movies.
For
I
$1.
love those.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got a
those are
couple of
great.
those that have a few like the weird space creatures that came,
Yep.
and I think it's like 12 creature features or
Yeah,
something like that.
yep.
Yep, it costs
Got a few of those,
maybe
and I
five.
love 'em.
Costs maybe $5. So you're getting like 20, 30 movies. It's great. The next one I'm not horribly familiar with. It's the last one I think we have on our list here.
On the
is,
li-
the Monolith Monsters.
Monolith monsters were nothing more than giant crystal rocks that jutted up out of the ground and
Okay.
killed people.
They were just rocks. They're not even
They were just
monsters.
rocks.
They
They
were
were-
just literal monoliths.
Yeah, that was it.
Or did they go straight up like monoliths?
They
or
went
were
straight
they
up
just...
like monoliths. Sometimes they'd fall to kill their prey.
Okay, so they were sentient monoliths?
Yeah, we think
Oh
so.
my god.
It wasn't a
See?
great movie, but it rounded out our classic cycle of Universal monsters.
I guess it did. I guess that would really be the end of
They
the...
went
Because
out
that's
on
where
a-
you run out of things. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, we have sentient monoliths. Sometimes they fall over. All right, the wheels will come off the bus entirely at this point. You guys have run out of ideas.
Well, and the thing too, you got to remember at that time in the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
Universal had so much competition with RKO and AIP, all
Sure.
the other companies that were cranking out films
Yeah.
weekly.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to keep up.
There's one that I keep running across of bad movies. It's a Multicom. Multicom makes... It's just a series of just terrible movies. Almost like The Asylum of
Okay.
today's standards.
Okay, yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen an Asylum film, you've never watched Sci-Fi Channel. I guess is
Yeah,
pretty much
pretty
what
much.
explains it. But they've given us classics like Roger Corman's Sharktopus.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Sharktopus or Whale Wolf, it's a and then there's Terracuda, which is like a pterodactyl and a barracuda.
Well, it's just mashing up animals.
The list goes on, and they just get greater and more ridiculous. I mean, you know how many shark movies are out there now?
Oh, way too many.
Way too many. There's some where
And-
they
and
come,
you know, the funny thing-
they come through sand, lava, snow. There's house sharks. There's
Land shark.
fire sharks. All because of this goddamn Sharknado came.
Yeah, you would think, Jaws created a whole subgenre of
Yeah.
shark and whale attack movies in the 70s.
What was
Sharknado
Jaws?
caused
Was Jaws Universal?
Jaws was Universal.
It's a Universal monster. It made it to the movie
That's-
monsters. McFarlane
that's
did that
true.
Movie Maniacs collection of
Yeah, there was
action figures.
the orca with the.
There was the orca.
Jaws.
Oh, dude, I still want that so bad.
I do. Too.
I want Quint's
I want
orca.
one of those.
Lifeless eyes, like a doll's eyes. If you find a Rolo on the floor, it's mine. He's just so grizzled and weird. I love that accent that he had and everything. That sea. Oh, we get it. You're the seafaring type.
Can you tie a knot?
Can you tie me a sheep shank? And then Richard Dreyfuss would do a whole bunch of cocaine, and it got weird. Before we move on and do our rap and whatever the free
form.
talk, whatever we do here, Jack Pierce. We
Pierce.
mentioned in the first segment. Jack Pierce. See if you can find us a picture of Jack Pierce. But he was the makeup guy.
Jack Pierce was.
He was an
that-
effects person.
Well, no, he was the head of makeup for Universal Studios,
Okay.
which meant he was in charge of creating Frankenstein, monster, and all those creatures. But he also did the glamour makeups for all the stars and stuff.
Oh, okay.
He was the head of the
So he was just a
department.
makeup artist.
He was an overall makeup artist.
I mean,
he did
but-
hair,
well,
makeup.
Nowadays, they call the guys effects. They're makeup effects artist or they're whatever
Yeah.
effects
But
artist.
he did it all.
and he did it with just makeup.
He had cotton, collodion, rubber. It just the worst stuff
Was
you
this
put on your face.
Pre-latex?
Pre-latex.
Okay. Maybe not too many plastics.
No plastics.
I'm sure they use like a lot of actual hair.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah, the
that's a
first
good one.
plastics he actually used was on the Wolfman's
Him working on the
nose.
Wolfman. Oh, okay, yeah,
That's
because
the
they had to
first
give that
rubber he
weird
had,
hard
yeah.
snout thing. Wow.
So to think about it, the Frankenstein monster completely cotton and collodion.
Because they didn't need. I mean, really, it's just makeup.
The brow, the
and then
head.
maybe that.
Yeah.
The brow and the head, one piece. I
Yeah.
mean, today they're so elaborate. Like, there's movies like like the X-Men with the Mystique character. How,
Yeah.
I mean, she's completely blue and rubber and
Yeah.
latex and all this and that. I mean, it's just some of their characters that they're putting out there nowadays. I mean,
But when it comes
amazing detail in the work
when it
for
comes
that
to,
time period.
when
That's
it comes
the
to
part
the classic
that just,
Universal monsters, all came from Jack Pierce's mind.
wow. Some of the other ones he did. Mummy.
Yeah, I got the list.
He's got a list.
The Man Who Laughs, the Joker image,
Oh.
completely Jack Pierce.
And that's just, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so hard to, because you couldn't imagine somebody's face stretching out that far.
No.
You know what I mean? It's got a little bit of scarring and stuff like that. And I mean,
And
it's
it's
pretty
beautiful.
detailed for its time.
And
I mean,
it's-
for the
it looks
30s.
so good.
It's the 30s.
Um,
Just to have something that cool.
Yeah, see, well, good on the list. Dracula, Frankenstein, Murder in the Rue Morgue.
Oh yeah,
Stepping out from Universal,
the-
White Zombie. He did.
Edgar Allan Poe stuff.
He did Bela Lugosi's makeup in White Zombie, which I think
okay.
is phenomenal.
Rob Zombie favorite. That's a good.
Absolutely. Old Dark House, The Mummy, The Invisible Man.
That's not hard makeup.
No, that was easy.
Make him
Werewolf
disappear.
of London, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula's Daughter, Son of Frankenstein, Tower of London, Wolfman.
And you said Dracula's Daughter. There wasn't even too much. That was
Not
just,
too much.
Just nice
Again,
makeup.
it was the glamour
Right.
makeup, but
Right.
it was striking.
Wow.
It
See,
looked-
now that's
yeah.
cool.
The Mummy's Tomb, Captive Wild Women. There was Universal did a whole thing of like wild jungle women films.
Okay.
In the 40s, that are
Like Sheena,
crazy.
Sheena, Jungle Goddess, and
And
stuff
there's
like
always
that.
some
Yeah,
like giant gorilla beast
yeah.
and stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
And she's got like a pet saber-tooth tiger or something.
She-Wolf of London, all the way up through to the Brute Man,
Oh wow!
and then
And again, Brute Man, that was his face.
that was his face. Yeah.
So, but there was still other makeup
Yeah.
stuff to do.
Problem is Jack didn't want to get into rubbers or latex or mask.
Okay.
It was totally against. He was old school.
Yeah.
Bud Westmore came in as the new head of makeup for Universal, and pushed Jack out because we could produce masks and get this done faster.
Sure. Yeah.
8-hour makeup,
Yeah.
1
The
hour
supply and
makeup.
demand.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. Move out the old guy, getting some hot shots.
But
Better, faster.
Jack Pierce is the reason we have so many of these.
He's a
monsters.
legend.
He is.
That's great. And okay, now we can spin off into tying it into pop culture.
Yeah.
Because lately there's been a boom of like reality shows and stuff like that, and there was one was it Face Off?
Face Off.
that they did on Sci-Fi, which is excellent.
It's
I
a
mean,
great
it's
show.
really cool,
That
and,
was
and it
such a good
teaches
show.
you a lot of things about technically cosplay. I mean, but even just movie magic and artwork and just design and just materials that they can use to create characters and just anything
Oh,
you
yeah.
want it to be, and it's just amazing. I don't know if is that season
That
still playing?
series has wrapped up.
Oh, well, that's too bad. That was a good one. And I know there were some people we had a
And,
couple
and,
of years
and
ago.
ironically, Bud Westmore makes appearances on that show, and his daughter is the host.
Oh, nice.
So it ties right in with what we're talking
That
about.
is that ties in nicely. And we had from one of the Comic-Con, we had somebody who
Yep,
was on
we
that show a
often
couple
do.
years
Yeah.
ago. They were out touring around doing some stuff about the show and the whatnot. And then comic books, obviously. There's been like I Frankenstein. I think that was graphic novel.
Frankenstein,
Obviously based off Frankenstein. Fantastic artwork in it. The comic book itself. I did enjoy parts of the comic, what I read of it.
Well, Marvel had the monster series with
Yeah.
Frankenstein's monster, Werewolf by Night,
They turned
Tomb of
Frank
Dracula.
Castle. They turned the Punisher.
Frankencastle.
Frankencastle. They turned the Punisher into a Frankenstein's monster, and he was rolling around with like Man Thing and all these other undead creatures and just weird shit. And it was just, it didn't make any sense.
No,
But like they actually made him an angel at one point. His story's gotten weird, and now, of course, obviously, it's gotten weirder. We talked last week that Cosmic Ghost Rider,
Yeah, a little
which is Frank
convoluted.
Castle and the Punisher and Ghost Rider and a Herald of Galactus, and it's gone off the rails. It's completely they veered into traffic at this point, and it's gotten out of control. But we talked obviously the past couple weeks about like their Tales of Suspense, Tales from the Crypt. There was a big boom in monsters group. Started off as a
As a
monster from
monster,
Planet
yeah.
X. There was one about gore. There was, they published Godzilla ones, which I classify that as movie monster
Yeah.
at this point.
In the 60s and 70s, Golden Key came out with adaptations of the Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly retelling of the movies, but like
Right.
sequels to
Okay.
those films.
Oh, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a few, like I said, the 30 Days a Night. We've talked about that before, and other adaptations of iconic characters into graphic novels and then into movies or into television series. What We Do in the Shadows, we've talked about that,
Yeah.
which that's one of my latest favorite sleeper comedy
So
that I'm
good.
just like, what?
Finally getting
Why have I never heard of
getting
this?
a sequel.
Finally, no, it's getting a series.
Oh, it's serious. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
and
They
I
wanted
know
to do the sequel.
Yeah, and Taika has something to do with it too. But yeah, I had heard about Taika through Thor Ragnarok, and then introduced me to What We Do in the Shadows.
Who,
and then,
there's a nice What We Do in the Shadows reference in Ragnarok.
yes, there
He
is.
goes, he's got that three-pronged
Yeah, where
spear.
you
And he
kill
goes,
3 vampires huddled together. Hey man, we get on this spaceship and get out of here. You want to come? So yeah, if you want to go down to Tardy's, talk to Gavin or Deanna, ask them about, and they're of course on Burton and Eastern. Go down.
and Gavin and Dan are huge monster fans.
And they are huge.
Big
They go
monster
to a lot of the
fans.
monster conventions and stuff. They do go to a lot of local conventions. They do conventions.
Yeah.
They know their stuff. It's not just comic books. I know we brought them in for comic books, but
there's so much.
they're very well versed. We've had dinner together before where it's just, there's topics everywhere about everything, just pop culture related. But go down to their shop in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have to emphasize, I don't know who's watching from where. So their shop, you can get all kinds of monster gear. They got all kinds of good stuff in there.
They do.
It's hard to narrow it down, but they have what you're looking for. Or, because I had to text them the other day, my wife's nephew. He's big. Finally watched Aliens. Now he's a big fan.
Oh,
He wants a Queen alien figure. We're like, oh, I know a guy.
Yeah.
So I messaged.
there were several.
I messaged Gavin. I'm like, do you have one of those in your store? He's like, no, but I have one coming in this week. I'm like, it's that
Fortuitous.
kind of
Nice.
exactly. It's that kind of customer service that I come to appreciate from Target's Collector's Corner on Eastern and Burton and Grand Rapids. That's their plug. The other plug I should probably get in here. Puck Cider.
Puck Cider.
We play the commercial often during intermission. They're wonderful. They're crisp. They're refreshing. I have a can. No, it's back there. Puck Cider. Many wonderful flavors. You can find them all throughout the greater Michigan, West Michigan areas. This is their strawberry rhubarb that they have out. And they have a... What?
Pick it up.
Pick it up. Okay. Pick it up and hold it like so. They got a strawberry rhubarb. They have a lime, raspberry lime. They have a... my mind's blanking right now. They have some...
All kinds of flavors.
Okay. Oh, I got it. Pucks. Right now, the boys are actually going to be off to... It's hard to see. It's so shiny. These lights aren't helping any. Oh, that's quality. This is quality advertising right here. We're going to have to work on this. All right, moving on. But they're heading out to Chicago to go represent at a little cider con that they got going out there in Chicago.
And now, we've mentioned before, Puck Cider available throughout most of Michigan at this point?
Pretty much most of Michigan. He's trying to make the worldwide sweep like we are with our show. So we're going to help each other push. And it's going to be wonderful and beautiful. All right, we're going to go back to music.
Okay.
Obviously, the Casket Bastards have a lot of influences that come from
horror movies
and
film.
sci-fi and monsters and stuff like that. Misfits, of course, we've talked about before, which is one of my all-time favorite punk bands. Under the Sex Pistols. Sex Pistols was a good idea. That's another show. I can talk on that one for a while, which also has movies and other stuff involved. Anyways,
my favorite tie-in directly to this.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I'm an Alice Cooper guy.
you're an Alice Cooper guy.
There's a song called "The Ballad of Dwight Fry" about that Fritz Renfield actor.
Cool. And that's an
But they
obscure
pulled
character to do a song about.
Yeah,
so he
that's-
knows his stuff.
Yeah, pulled it directly from the actor.
Alice has done some reading. And
Oh, yeah.
he's got Frankenstein,
Teenage
Teenage
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, and I mean his well-based Marilyn Manson. Yeah. We've talked about had more of, I guess, that serial killer culture that he kind of used for his band, and like just dark elements of weird kids stuff like Charlie and Chocolate Factory, and tried to make it.
But it all spawned out of somewhere.
But it all spawned out of somewhere, exactly.
Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie, of course, yeah, White Zombie, and Misfits took Mask of the Red Death, which
Yeah.
is an older, culty horror film. Still good. It's along the lines of like
based
the
off on
Hammer
Edgar
stuff,
Allan
and
Poe.
yeah, based on Poe, but it's got a lot of darkness to it, which is cool. But still, there's a lot of bands that just eat up that style. And it's cool that there's some that are still,
Still doing it,
like
yeah.
the Casket Bastards, man. I was digging that. So maybe we can get them to come up to town one of these times.
I think we could do that.
Get them to play a show up here. We'll introduce everybody in Grand Rapids.
We'll do a
If
broadcast.
they don't know.
We'll do a live show.
A
from
live
concert.
show from a concert. Yeah, they could play while we talk. It's not going to make a difference, I don't think. But I don't think anybody's listening to us now. They're not going to be listening to us then either, so it'll be great. But what did we say? Comic books, music, movies. Movies, obviously.
Yeah.
they're everywhere. We covered a lot of the movies, but
And
it continued the trend of spin-offs and Spawns and Dracula 2000 and the Untold Story, and then interpretations of Frankenstein, like we said, or like ways to tell the tale.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. Is during the 50s, Universal licensed off their properties.
Okay.
Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, Wolfman, to Hammer Films in England.
Oh.
In exchange
okay.
for the international distribution rights. So we have color remakes of Universal films made in England.
Wow.
So it just kept going.
Just recycling.
Just recycle.
And as a matter of fact, they're coming back, like we said, The Mummy, Tom Cruise, and other
They tried to reboot
people.
it with the Benicio del Toro and the Wolfman,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed. I love that one.
Bits and pieces of it I liked. I mean, it wasn't bad. It stayed a lot truer to the original. But, I mean, I know they were supposed to just have this, like, another revitalization of these characters that they're going to do with the original Universal monsters.
Yeah, they wanted to do the Dark Universe.
They want to do the Dark Universe, which I mean, it depends
Mummy
on how it's handled.
Mummy didn't do well enough.
I don't
that they
think
kind
it
of
did well enough,
were
and I think
backing
they
off.
were backing off. But, I mean, the other characters are so strong. I
Well,
mean, if you try to keep it true to the original and whatnot, I see potential for it to be awesome.
They tried to reboot it with Van Helsing.
Just don't make it like a rom-com.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't make it a romantic comedy. Don't.
Well, I
don't
think the
try
thing
to,
they're missing too is they're trying to make it an action adventure film with monsters,
Right.
as opposed to a monster film
Something
that has some action.
fun.
Yeah.
Right for everyone, I suppose. At that point.
And you hit the nail on the head. The Mummy was Mission Impossible with a mummy.
Yeah. If there were, I didn't. She had ruined it. Look, you know what she reminded me of when I saw the trailers and stuff? Enchantress from the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That's what I saw immediately. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Ghost. I saw ghosts. Did you guys see that? We got it on camera. We got live ghost on camera.
We did that shit.
Thanks, Julie. Look what you've done. You've cursed
Thanks,
our beloved
thanks a lot,
basement.
Julie. Appreciate it.
I'm not going to hold against her. Video game wise, I found out there was a Nintendo Frankenstein game that I don't. It was kind of looked like a Castlevania, but I don't think it had anything to do with Frankenstein.
Right.
I stopped playing after. It was like a minute and a half. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore because this is ridiculous.
I think there was a video game tie-in to the 90s Bram Stoker's
There was
Dracula.
a 90s Bram Stoker's. There was, I mean, Castlevania actually had to do with Dracula. I mean, it
Sure.
was a story of Simon. I want to say Hugh Beaumont because he's on my brain now. Simon Belmont. Simon Belmont. Yeah, was Castlevania, which was, his family was hunting down Dracula for lineage reasons, something. I don't know. It spawned like what, 12 of those freaking games,
Yeah, that was-
and then all of a sudden they got that new animated on. I heard that's really good, actually, and violent on Netflix.
Oh.
The Castlevania.
Need to check that
Which is
out.
kind of cool. It's more like a Japanese style animation, but really, really cool from what I hear. The Mummy, I think they did one that had pertained to the Brendan Fraser trilogy. It was a trilogy. It's weird to say that because I don't know. For the time, but he was just a big pile of dust that floated with a face.
In that first one, yeah.
And then they used that continually for any mummy thing that they had was just that, and
and
he's
then-
a giant tornado with sand tornado with a face. It's like nobody cares.
Sharknado with an
It's a
Egyptian
Sharknado
corpse.
with an Egyptian corpse. Buried
And then they
within
spun
the
it off
subject.
with the Scorpion King with The Rock, which
Yeah.
even that had a sequel.
Wouldn't help kickstart our beloved Dwayne Johnson, who we have
It
now.
did. It did.
Is he cool with being called The Rock anymore? It's like, I'm Dwayne Johnson. You're The Rock. Stop it. just stop it right now. But if you dig around, like we have the cool emulator on an Xbox, so we got all kinds of list of just games galore. Everything spawned off a game for Nintendo. Godzilla had one. There's Nightmare on Elm Street. There's Friday the 13th. There's one for every kind of monster, except this island Earth. I don't even think he's in one.
No
I don't
creature.
think
No
he's in one
Wolfman,
either.
I don't think either.
I think, well, they kind of had that Darkstalkers.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah, so it was kind of like it's kind of. But I think maybe they need to do like a showdown game.
Yeah.
A bunch of old classic monsters and like weird alien monsters from like the 50s, just like B-movie bonanza of just monsters.
And yeah, tying all this in together to
Uh-huh.
the first segment, I think it's just, I love the fact that here we are. 1931 was Dracula and Frankenstein.
Okay.
We're almost 100 years out.
Yeah.
And if you think about Dracula, you still think of a widow's peak, a Hungarian accent, and a tuxedo.
And the big cape.
Frankenstein will always be green with a flat
Yep,
head and,
big-
and
yeah.
electrodes in the neck.
Led us to the Herman Munster, which helped keep it going
Which
to endear him to people.
It's 100 years, and those are still our go-to looks.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's-
they're going to try and change
that's some
it,
longevity.
But you know they're going to try and alter or do something different
Yeah.
with it. But that leads off to, like I said, trying to just keep the legacy and imagination of it alive.
Sure.
The story as it would be, but he's reaching a birthday.
Yep.
Mary Shelley's writing's reaching a birthday soon, so go out and celebrate if that's your thing. I mean, it's part of pop culture.
Dig up a body and
Dig
stitch
up
them
a
together.
body and stitch it together.
It's a birthday party.
We're not encouraging that.
No.
That's
No.
disclaimer right now. We do not condone digging up bodies and stitching them together. If it works, that's cool. I'd like to talk to you if you make it happen, but we didn't. You
I
didn't
just
hear
don't
that.
wanna be there.
You didn't hear that from us. I'm not condoning this. All right. I think we covered everything.
We've covered quite a bit.
Thanks to Puck Cider, of course, for being our sponsor, not sponsor. Tardy's being a sponsor, not sponsor. I'm gonna call them
Thanks to the Casket Bastards.
Casket
for, letting us use some
Bastards
music.
for rocking us out through
It
our
fit
intermission.
really well
It
together.
was nice. I like them. Yeah, we're gonna dig up some more of them stuff so we can introduce some people and hopefully get them in town. Maybe we can get them on the couch here.
That'd be
Come
great.
chit chat. We'll do music talk. We'll do something. Oh, next week. Oh, see, I almost
Big
did
one
forget
next week.
something. Every week, every week. You guys caught me last time. This time I got it. I'm in control. I got this.
Micro Machines?
Micro Machines. Damn it. But at least we covered it.
Inside joke.
Now, no, not even. Now Micro Machines is in the show.
Yeah, that's true.
There it is. People need to start sending like Micro Machines. We just keep in random hidden places.
Stockpile.
Toys. Yes, Masters of the Universe.
Huge.
There's a huge collection,
Huge collection.
that we found out about in Grand Rapids, and we're gonna go visit it. We're gonna go see it, which I'm sure it's like
exciting.
it's a kid and candy store at this
Yeah.
point.
It's like a museum.
I can't-
A He-Man museum in somebody's home.
And it takes up a couple rooms. It's not just
It's
like
big, yeah.
a room. Like you're like, oh, I got some Castle Grayskull, some cool stuff in a box. No,
No, this is stuff that
I'm
no
pretty
one's
sure
ever
his
heard or
family
seen,
doesn't even live there. It's just like him and toys. There's like a guest house. They just sleep in the back.
They sleep in the guest house.
Right. There's cots in the basement, maybe. But we're gonna check it out because I've never seen this. I gotta see this.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. And then we'll have said collector in Motu Joe.
Talking about Masters.
Master of the Universe. Master of the Universe Joe. He is very well versed.
And I think we'll probably even talk about he's got a second company called Retro Rags.
He has a second company called Retro Rags who had something cool I saw on Facebook that had punk rock ties.
Yeah, there's a lot coming up. and
There's
yes,
a
there
lot
is.
coming up. So we got a lot of things to talk to Motu Joe.
Yeah.
That's it. Master of the Universe Joe. Motu Joe. He's
Motu
not
Joe.
like Godzilla. He's not a Motu. He's not going to turn into a giant creature and destroy half
Oh, we
the
could
city.
only hope.
We could only hope.
Oh, please.
Just don't do it.
Crush a city for us.
Just don't grow in our basement. We need to do our show here. If you want to turn into a kaiju outside, that's great. Okay, so now we've covered everything. Next
Covered
week's
it
show, share and subscribe. Come back, tell the world, spread the love. On behalf of Roger, production staff, myself, Uncle Punky, and Storytime. Story's wrapped up. We'll see you next time. Enjoy. Yeah, I'm very excited to see it. Because I'm playing in my head, you know what I mean? And I've seen people with collections of like